Ladies and gentlemen, look at your hand. No, really, look. Can you see it? That shimmer, that curve, that glow? It's not a trick of the light. It's not your imagination. It's the crescent moon. And yes, it's in the palm of your hand. Before you scoff, before you scroll, pause. There's a reason this moment found you. Because 2025 is not just another year. It's not about resolutions, routines, or recycled advice. It's about recognition of signs, of signals, of self. There are 10 things that are going to happen to you this year. Some may feel small, others seismic, but all of them matter. If you ignore them, they'll pass like shadows on a wall. If you learn to see them, though, everything can change. This is not a forecast. This is a mirror. So if you've ever felt like you're meant for more, but couldn't name it, so if you've sensed a shift coming, but couldn't explain it, then stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you won't just understand what's coming, you'll understand who you really are. The chaos around you will peak. But that's the trick. It's pushing you to pause, to become aware of the quiet voice you've drowned for too long. It won't come from books or news feeds. It will come from within. Something old will call to something eternal inside you. But instead of breaking you, it will strip away the illusion. Loss won't shrink you, it will shape you. It might come as a whisper or a sudden burst, but it will shock you. You'll think, where has this been all my life? The answer? Waiting for 2025. There's no sugarcoating this. A test is coming, not to punish you, but to reveal you, to prove to yourself what you forgot you were capable of. A brief conversation, a chance meeting. But their presence will unlock something in you that even your oldest friends couldn't see. Not boredom, silence. The kind that heals. The kind that teaches. The kind that connects you to something bigger than your story. The ladder you've been climbing may disappear, but in its place you'll build a compass, one that finally points toward meaning, not just movement, because your body will remember what your mind has forgotten. You were never meant to live in cages, even the beautiful ones. Not from fear, not from habit, but from clarity, from power, from the crescent moon you now know you hold. There's something ancient hidden in plain sight, floating in the night sky for millennia, inspiring poets, guiding travelers, whispering its quiet mystery to those willing to look up. The crescent moon, a symbol not just of beauty but of transition, of movement between phases, of the quiet, often invisible space between darkness and light. But what if that symbol, so distant, so ethereal, was actually within your reach? That is the question. Is the crescent moon in the palm of your hand? It sounds poetic. It sounds impossible. And yet, the answer lies not in astronomy, but in awareness. You see, the moon has long been a metaphor for the hidden, the unconscious, the intuitive. When we say the crescent moon is in the palm of your hand, we're not referring to the literal moon, but to something far more personal and powerful, your own untapped intuition, the wisdom you carry, the transitions you're about to undergo. 2025 will not be like the years before it. This is not just about calendar, dates, and technology upgrades. This is about the inner revolution, emerging of the mystical and the modern. In the modern world, we are constantly encouraged to look outside of ourselves. We look to data, to metrics, to forecasts, to devices. We measure our value through numbers, followers, likes, steps, hours worked, tasks completed. We are connected, yes, but also deeply disconnected from our own stillness. The mystical, on the other hand, asks a different question. How does it feel? What do you sense, not just think? What's moving beneath the surface? In 2025, these two worlds are colliding. And this isn't by accident. It's by necessity. There is a growing tension in people between productivity and purpose, between movement and meaning, between everything they've been told to do and everything they quietly suspect they were meant to become. That tension isn't a problem to solve. It's a signal. And the crescent moon is that signal's symbol. It represents the moment where darkness begins to give way to light, where clarity emerges, not in full force, but just enough to say, this way, trust this. And that's what's happening in 2025. Across the globe, people are waking up, not in loud, explosive ways, but in subtle, deeply personal shifts. They're beginning to sense that success is hollow if it's not rooted in truth. They're feeling called to slow down, to observe, to reconnect with the part of themselves that modern life tried to mute. Here's the paradox. The more we advance, the more we crave the ancient. The faster our world spins, the more we long for stillness. That's not regression, that's remembrance. When we say the crescent moon is in the palm of your hand, we speak to the personal agency you now have to choose what kind of life you want to live, not in theory. In practice, daily, you have the ability to quiet the noise, to listen within, to recognize the signs that were always around you, but that you were too distracted to see. These signs are everywhere. In the conversation that leaves you breathless, in the silence that somehow comforts, in the discomfort that refuses to leave until you pay attention. They're not loud, they don't shout, they don't announce themselves on screens, but they speak. And in 2025, they will speak more clearly than ever. This is the year where the mystical becomes practical, where intuition isn't vague, it's a compass, where the moon in your hand becomes your ability to sense, to respond, and to steer. The question is, will you notice it? Because the opportunity is not guaranteed. The world will keep pushing you to stay asleep, to scroll, to numb, to ignore the quiet voice that says you're meant for something more. But if you pause, if you breathe, if you lift your gaze inward rather than outward, you will feel it. That curve of possibility, that soft, undeniable pull, that crescent waiting not above you but within you. And once you recognize it, you'll never unsee it again. That's when everything changes. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. Not from outside approval, but from inner alignment. That's when you stop chasing the world and start creating your own. So yes, the crescent moon is in the palm of your hand. The only question left is, what will you do with it? There are moments in life when something stirs, not loudly, not with drama, but with an undeniable weight. A strange pull that doesn't seem to come from anywhere you can identify. You're going through your normal day, doing what you've always done, and then suddenly you pause. Something feels different. Something is pulling at you. Quietly but insistently, like a string attached to your soul that's been tugged from a place you can't quite name. That's what 2025 will bring, not a storm that overtakes you from the outside, but a subtle, almost mystical pull from within, a quiet invitation that asks, "Are you listening now?" This pull won't scream. It won't demand your attention. It will arrive softly, like the echo of something half remembered. It will show up in your dreams, in the spaces between conversations, in that flicker of a thought you almost ignore but somehow can't. It might come when you're sitting in traffic. It might visit you just before sleep, when the noise of the world finally fades. And when it does, it will not bring answers. It will bring questions. This strange inner call is not random. It's not spiritual fluff. It is the ancient part of you reawakening. The part that existed before titles, roles, schedules, and to-do lists. It's the part of you that remembers how to feel without filtering, how to know without reasoning, how to move without forcing. This isn't new, it's deeply old. It's the part of you that modern life has buried beneath ambition, expectation, and distraction. You may start to feel drawn to things you used to dismiss. Old stories, old rituals, quiet spaces. The loud, high-speed chase for more might begin to lose its grip. Your definition of importance will start to shift. You'll notice a kind of restlessness, not the kind that makes you want to run, but the kind that makes you want to return to what you may not know at first, but the longing will be real. That pull you feel, that's your alignment shifting. You are not being called to escape life. You are being called to experience it more honestly. This pull may not make sense to your logical mind, and that's okay. The mind will try to label it. Maybe it'll call it confusion or boredom or even anxiety. But if you listen closely, it's none of those things. It's clarity being born in slow motion. It's your inner compass reactivating after years of silence. In 2025, more and more people will experience this internal stirring. It will feel like a thirst they didn't know they had, a craving for something real, grounded, and true. And here's the paradox. While the world grows louder, more connected, more chaotic, this call will grow quieter. It will force you to choose. Will you continue to let the outside drown out the inside, or will you begin to trust that strange pull? This pull will not always lead you where you expect. In fact, it often won't. It may ask you to let go of something you've clung to. It may lead you into the unknown, but it will never lead you away from yourself. In fact, it will lead you back to who you were before you were told who to be. That's what makes 2025 different. It's not just about big global changes or headlines. It's about the subtle interior rewiring of people across the world. A remembering, a quiet revolution. You might find yourself waking up earlier just to sit in stillness, or walking away from a conversation that doesn't feel true. You might start to notice synchronicities, small, strange moments that seem too perfectly timed to be coincident. These are not accidents. These are confirmations. The pull is real. It is asking you to trust without a full map, to follow without full proof. And while that can be terrifying, it can also be the most freeing thing you ever do. In this new year, the universe is not just changing around you, it is changing through you. You are not a spectator, you are a participant. You are the one being called forward, not to shout, not to conquer, but to return to what is true, to what is ancient, to what is quietly waiting for you to notice. And when you do, when you finally lean into that strange sacred pool, you'll realize something powerful. It wasn't a new direction you needed. It was an old connection you forgot you had. And now it's calling you home. There is something about loss that feels like the ground being pulled out from beneath your feet. It arrives suddenly or slowly, but always with a sharpness you didn't quite prepare for. It might be a person who leaves, a dream that dies, a belief that cracks, or a chapter that quietly closes. And no matter how strong you are, when it happens, something inside you shatters. You're left staring at a version of your life that no longer fits. It's disorienting, painful, and yet essential. In 2025, this kind of loss is coming, not as punishment, but as transformation. You will lose something, or someone you thought you couldn't live without. It will sting. It may confuse you, it might even feel cruel. But if you allow yourself to look deeper, you'll see it for what it truly is. Not an ending, but a recalibration. A sacred dismantling. A clearing of what no longer belongs so that something more honest, more aligned can take its place. This loss won't necessarily be dramatic. It might be quiet, subtle. It might look like drifting away from a friendship that once felt unbreakable, or walking away from a job that gave you status but starved your soul. It might be the moment you realize you've outgrown the very identity that once gave you purpose. And that realization, that internal rupture, will mark the beginning of something powerful. Because what breaks you in 2025 won't destroy you. It will define you. We are conditioned to avoid loss at all costs. We hold tightly to what is familiar, even when it no longer fits. We cling to people, habits, routines, beliefs, not because they serve us, but because they used to. And letting go of something that once mattered feels like betrayal. But what if the real betrayal is holding on? This year is going to show you, possibly in painful but necessary ways, what needs to be released. Not everything that's been part of your life is meant to continue. Not every chapter belongs in your next volume. Some things and some people were meant to teach you, not stay with you. Their purpose wasn't permanence. It was awakening. And so when that moment of loss comes, let it come. Feel it. Don't rush to fix it. Don't numb it with distractions or bury it under forced positivity. Sit with it. Grieve it. Let yourself be emptied. Because only in that space, where everything you clung to has fallen away, can the truth find you. You will learn things about yourself in the aftermath of loss that you could never discover in comfort. You will see how strong you are, not by pretending everything's fine, but by facing what hurts and still choosing to rise. You will begin to see what matters with more clarity. You will begin to value your time, your energy, your peace, not in theory, but in practice. And as painful as the process may be, you will look back and realize that the thing you thought you couldn't live without was actually standing in the way of who you were meant to become. It was a version of you that had reached its limit. Letting go of it didn't diminish you, it liberated you. This is the quiet truth about loss in 2025. It is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It will reflect back to you all the ways you've changed, all the ways you've grown, and all the parts of your life that must evolve to match the new version of you that is emerging. Don't fear the breaking. Fear the refusal to grow. Loss can be sacred if you allow it to be. It clears space. It humbles the ego. It softens the heart. It makes you human again. And in that rawness, in that honesty, in that stripped down state, you will finally meet yourself. Not the person you've been trying to prove to the world, but the one who's been quietly waiting underneath all along. You are not meant to carry everything forward. You are not meant to keep everything intact. Some things must fall apart so that you can rise with fewer burdens and greater clarity. So when it happens this year, when something or someone is taken from your life, Don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to reveal within me? Because what you lose in 2025 might just be the exact thing you needed to let go of. So you could finally step into the life that's been calling you all along. Sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries are not found in distant lands or learned through grand teachings. Sometimes they emerge quietly from within, like a memory rising from deep waters. In 2025, you will experience something that will surprise you, not because the world around you has changed, but because something long buried within you will finally rise to the surface. A hidden skill, a dormant ability, a forgotten strength will suddenly make itself known. And when it does, you'll stop and ask yourself, where has this been all my life? It might happen when you're forced into a situation that requires a new response. It could come from an unexpected opportunity, a challenge, or a moment where there is no one else to rely on but yourself. And in that moment, something unfamiliar will awaken. Yet it won't feel foreign. In fact, it will feel strangely natural, as if it's always been there, waiting for you to remember it. You won't have studied it, you won't have trained for it, but it will rise up through you with a kind of certainty that doesn't come from the mind. It will come from the deeper part of you, the part that has been silently absorbing and storing pieces of truth over the years, waiting for the right moment to bring them together. This hidden skill may not look dramatic. It could be the ability to lead others when chaos strikes, or a talent for creating calm in the middle of noise. It could be a new kind of creativity you never knew you had, a sudden impulse to write, draw, speak, or design. It might be an emotional intelligence that allows you to read a room, sense someone's pain, or guide a conversation toward healing instead of conflict. It might even be your capacity to endure, to keep going, to rise after falling again. And when it emerges, you may be tempted to downplay it, to brush it off as luck, timing, coincidence. But deep down, you'll know the truth. This isn't new. This is you, a part of you that's been waiting for permission to show itself. You see, life has a way of hiding our gifts behind the noise of expectation. We spend so much time trying to fit into boxes that we forget to explore what exists outside of them. We are told to specialize, to stay in our lane, to master the predictable path. But 2025 will break those patterns. It will put you in situations that demand your authenticity, not your resume. And in those moments, your hidden skill will no longer hide. The most beautiful part, this discovery won't come with pressure. It will come with freedom. You won't feel obligated to prove it to anyone. You'll simply want to use it, to share it, because it feels like coming home to yourself. That's what reliability feels like. Not performance, but presence. You might start to look back and notice the clues were always there. The way you always understood people's moods. The way you instinctively solved problems no one else saw. The way you felt drawn to certain tasks or topics, even when they didn't make sense on paper. All of those moments were breadcrumbs leading you to this realization, and it will change you. Not in a loud, public way, but in the quietest and most profound sense. It will rewire how you see yourself. Because once you discover this hidden strength, you'll no longer see yourself as incomplete or lacking. You'll begin to trust that there's more within you than you've been told. The world may not validate this gift right away. Don't wait for that. What matters is that you see it. What matters is that you use it. Not for applause, but for alignment. Let it shape your choices, your relationships, your path forward. Let it become part of how you serve, how you heal, how you create. Because when you discover a hidden part of yourself, you don't just unlock potential, you activate purpose. And purpose, once awakened, doesn't go back to sleep. So when that moment comes in 2025, when something unfamiliar rises inside you and takes shape, don't question it. Don't run from it. Say yes, follow it, explore it, and trust that you've only just begun to uncover the fullness of who you are. Because the skill is not just in your hands, it's in your nature. And now, finally, it's ready to be seen. There will come a moment in 2025 when something inside you clicks. It won't be a loud revelation or a lightning bolt from the sky. It will feel more like a quiet knowing, a sense that the person you used to be has outlived their time. Like stepping out of an old skin, you'll realize you can no longer shrink yourself to fit into places that no longer reflect your truth. You'll stop bending, stop pleasing. You'll stop asking for permission to simply be who you already are. And when that shift happens, you will no longer recognize yourself, not in the sense of being lost, but in the sense of finally being found. This change won't come through force. It won't come through some dramatic act of rebellion. It will unfold gently, like waking up one morning and knowing you're done performing. You're done playing small. You are done trying to mold yourself to meet expectations that never really belonged to you. Something deeper will rise inside you, and with it will come a voice that's been quiet for far too long. A voice that says, "This is who I am, take it or leave it." For much of your life, you were probably taught to conform, to be agreeable, to be safe, to be what others expected. You were told to avoid rocking the boat, to keep your dreams manageable, your opinions polite, and your desires hidden. And so you learned to edit yourself. You hid your power beneath humility. You masked your uniqueness beneath relatability. You stayed in situations, roles, and relationships that felt too small for your soul. Not because you were weak, but because you believed being accepted was more important than being real. But in 2025, that illusion will fall apart. Not all at once, but steadily. You'll feel a restlessness in your body, a quiet frustration that grows louder each time you say yes when you mean no, each time you water yourself down to avoid judgment, each time you keep your truth inside because you fear it will make others uncomfortable. That pressure will build until it can't be ignored. And then, without a dramatic declaration, you'll simply stop. You'll stop being the version of yourself that was built to be liked. You'll become the version of yourself that is built to be free. And yes, it might cost you things. People may pull away. Certain relationships might fade. Some won't understand the change. They were attached to your old self, the agreeable one, the accommodating one, the one who never said too much. But you will come to see that those connections were never real if they depended on your silence. You will mourn them, and then you will move on. In their place, new alignments will begin to form, connections built on honesty, not performance. People who see the real you and not just the reflection you used to project. And even if it's only a few, they will be enough. Because when you begin to live as your full self, you no longer crave quantity, you crave resonance. This shift will touch every area of your life. The way you work, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the choices you make will start to align, not with what is expected, but with what feels true. You'll stop second-guessing your intuition. You'll speak with more clarity, more edge, more heart. You'll find beauty in your own contradictions. You'll stop apologizing for your intensity, your softness, your wildness, your vision. And perhaps most importantly, you will forgive yourself for all the years you lived half asleep. You'll stop judging the younger version of you who didn't know any better. You'll understand they were doing the best they could with the awareness they had. And that version of you, however cautious, however quiet, paved the way for who you are now becoming. So when you find yourself looking in the mirror sometime in 2025 and you barely recognize the person staring back, not because you're lost, but because you've evolved, smile. That is the face of someone who no longer hides, someone who no longer trades truth for approval, someone who is finally living from the inside out. And that version of you, that's the one the world has been waiting for. In 2025, one of the most profound realizations you'll come to is this: peace was never something outside of you. It was never hiding in a destination, a paycheck, a relationship, or a title. It wasn't waiting at the end of a long road. It wasn't something to be earned through endless effort or borrowed from someone else's approval. Peace, the kind that softens your chest and silences the noise in your head, was always inside of you, buried beneath all the reasons you believed it wasn't. You may have spent years running, chasing something, escaping something, trying to arrive at a version of your life that finally felt like enough. And maybe you thought if you just worked harder, loved better, looked a certain way, achieved certain things, then one day you'd wake up and feel calm. But each achievement, each milestone left a small echo behind, a whisper that said, "Is this really it?" That's because peace isn't the reward at the end. It's the practice along the way. And in 2025, you will begin to reclaim it, not in huge, dramatic ways, but in small moments of returning to yourself. It will start when you begin to notice what drains you, the people, the places, the habits. You become more aware of the conversations that leave you hollow and the spaces where you feel like you have to shrink. And instead of pushing through, instead of pretending it doesn't affect you, you begin to choose differently. You'll stop sacrificing your nervous system just to be seen as polite or agreeable. You begin to say no without guilt, not out of coldness, but out of self-respect. You'll realize that peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of clarity. And clarity comes when you listen to yourself, truly. When you get quiet enough to hear the inner signal, the feeling in your chest, the gut instinct that always knew the way but was drowned out by the opinions of others. In 2025, the chaos of the world won't stop, but your reaction to it will. You'll begin to understand that your peace is not about controlling everything around you, but about anchoring deeply within you. You'll discover how to be still without being stagnant, how to be calm without disconnecting, how to find power in softness and strength in surrender. There will be days when you'll still feel overwhelmed. That's part of being human. But instead of spiraling, you'll pause. You'll breathe. You'll remember that you don't have to match the speed or intensity of the world. You can move at your own pace. You can operate from a place of presence, not panic. You redefine what success looks like. It will no longer be about how much you can carry, but how well you can carry yourself. It will be measured in how peaceful your mornings feel, how honest your relationships are, how often you laugh, how much you sleep, how well you listen to your own needs. This return to peace may feel strange at first. You've likely spent so long in survival mode that calm feels suspicious, like something's missing, like you should be doing more. But with time, you'll unlearn that nervous system response. You'll begin to understand that ease isn't laziness. It's intelligence. It's wisdom. It's alignment. You'll also stop outsourcing your calm to other people. You'll stop waiting for others to change so you can feel okay. You'll stop trying to control their reactions, manage their perceptions, or fix their problems just so you can avoid discomfort. Instead, you'll stay rooted. You'll speak less but with more impact. You'll observe more and absorb less. You'll realize you're allowed to be okay even if others are not. And in those quiet, ordinary moments when you're washing dishes, walking under trees, sitting with a warm cup in hand, you'll feel it. Not happiness that depends on conditions, not excitement that comes and goes, but peace. Simple, steady, and real. You'll wonder why it took you so long to come back to it, but then you'll smile. Because the journey wasn't a mistake. It was the exact path you needed to take to remember what was yours all along. So in 2025, let peace become your standard, not your goal. Let it lead your decisions, shape your boundaries, guide your mornings and your nights. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. Because you stopped searching for what was never lost. You didn't find peace. You remembered it. So I ask you again, is the crescent moon in the palm of your hand? No one can answer that for you. But if you've felt something stir during this time together, if even one of these 10 signs rang true, then you already know the answer. The real question now is, what will you do with it? The clock is already ticking.